Luka Nation, what a big week for us in our community, guys. So before we even start off with this episode, I wanted to thank all of you guys listening. Cage reported this morning to me we had record numbers on audio. Super thankful to you guys tuning in on a daily basis, giving us your feedback, your comments. We brought on Cage and Cardboard this week, a new show under the umbrella. You guys have been unbelievable with your reception. The reason why I believe that people want to come on the show, both as guests, sponsors, partners, listen to the show, is we're not a gotcha podcast. We're a long form. Let's have a conversation. Honestly, I've said this before. As a first-time entrepreneur, selfishly, I've learned so much. Today's episode 800, guys. 800. I don't know if you guys know that's very lucky in Asian culture, by the way. But the true beauty of how we've got here is that we don't do clickbaity, take out of context, throw it in on Instagram and let's get a lot of views. It's let's have a conversation. Let's learn. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. It's not on this polar right or this polar left. So as we've been doing this for 2 years, going on 3, guests reach out to us. They want to come on the show. You guys recommend and make introductions. And today I'm super excited because we have the Arena Club on. We have Warren and Brian from that team, the founding members of the team. And you're going to get a chance to learn why the company was started, who Warren and Brian are. By the way, hint, they're collectors and they love cards and they love this space. And what they're going to do and how it's going to benefit you guys. And then you could go home, or you're probably home, or you're working out or whatever you're doing. And you could decide for yourself, do I want to use it? Do I want to research more? Do I want to check it out? So that's what today's going to be about, learning about Arena Club, learning about the founding team, how Derek Jeter got involved. And then probably at the end, Cage is going to invite them into the cage match, get on the high rope, and jump off. So without further ado, Brian, Warren, welcome to the Lucas Tigers and Bronzo My Show. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. We're super excited to be here.
That was a pretty good intro. I got to give myself a
That was a great intro.
I mean, it was so good. I didn't talk. And 2 minutes in, there's probably it's 800 episodes, probably a handful where I didn't break in the first 2 minutes and step on
I left them
intro.
speechless.
So that was good, man. I like it. I mean, I may let you speak at my funeral now. If you could do that, it's okay.
The eulogy?
I mean,
You've changed my life, man. You've been a mentor and a business partner. But I want to start off because
let me start off.
Please.
Let me start off. 2 questions. People tell me, Arena, there's a big announcement, another grading company. Ho-hum. That's question number 1. Are you a grading company? And question number 2, and you guys can each split these up, divvy them however you like, but people want to hear from you, is if you're not a grading company or a vaulting company or a whole bunch of other stuff, why does the hobby need another one? How are you guys different? What are you bringing to the table that is not already here? So divvy it up, answer however you like. But I think if we just jump right into it.
Sure, I'll answer the first part. You can answer the second part.
Let's do it.
Perfect. So thank you again for having us here at Cage. But yes, we do grade cards, but I would not classify us as a grading company. What we are is really a digital card show, if you will, where individuals will get showrooms, very similar to getting a booth at a showroom, and you can display your cards. You can buy, sell, and trade those cards with other people that are at the show. And so that's really what we're doing. In terms of the grading part, yes, we will grade cards to really kind of show you what the score is on a raw card. Very similar to going to a card show. Again, it's like, yes, you could pick up a raw card and you could examine it, but you can't do that online, which is why we're scoring the cards, grading the cards, so that you understand what the raw card is kind of like. But in terms of what we are, we're really a digital card show, and it's a platform where I think it's what the hobby wants, because this is what I wanted. I wanted a platform where it's much more of a community, a club, right, where people meet each other and talk to each other, and we offer each other trades and talk about players and so forth. Because my happiest days are truly going to the card show with my son, right? We'll spend all day there, and we make trade. We buy stuff, we sell stuff, we make trades. No one ever created that fervor online. What we have are platforms that have existed for 20 plus years, buy and sell. They're truthfully, to me, they're a little boring. They're a little bit behind in terms of bringing that social component to the platform and to the hobby. But
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, why the hobby needs it, which I'm sure is going to be controversial amongst listeners. But my first national, I think it was in 2006, 2005, 2006 in Anaheim, right? The Angels, I was at an Angels game with my dad. They gave away free tickets. And I think that was the last one in Anaheim. And if anyone's listening out there that controls that, please come back to the West Coast. I'm really tired of having to fly across the country. But look, the national.
They give you Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. So we've got people listening. We've got people listening that are big Cleveland people, and I'm going to get some talking to for that. But
well, there needs to be one in on the West Coast every 4 years. Like it's like the Olympics. You can't have it at the same setting all the time.
For me, Pennsylvania is West Coast.
Don't tell Beijing. Come on. They're kind of going with these days. But no, you go to the. I mean, I heard it this year. I heard it last year, but specifically this year, like we went out of COVID last year. We went into the National in Chicago, and everyone was like, the excitement was crazy, right? Hadn't had the National the year before. Card World had caught fire. Everyone was so looking forward to it. Everyone was nervous. Everyone was like, what's this going to be like? What are we going to, like, how is this going to even work?
What's the vibe going to be like, for sure?
It was huge, and it was awesome. And we went out to Atlantic City this year, and it was less awesome, I'd say. It was super expensive, right? Hotel rooms, transportation, Ubering around, just getting out to Atlantic City, super expensive. And I know a lot of people that wanted to go that couldn't get out there. You look at some of these great shows that have started to come up around the country, the Dallas show, the Fishtown show in Philly. A lot of people love that. The Burbank show the other week.
Show,
yeah, all these great shows that are popping up. And you say, well, first of all, if you're a 12-year-old kid that's a collector, how many of those shows can you get to? If you're the parent of a 12-year-old kid, how many of those shows can you get your kid to? And you might get to one in your neighborhood, but imagine all the other cards that are out there that you could see. Right? That's what we love, is seeing those cards at those shows, and allowing people to do that. And I mean, you go to a show. I love going to shows like the day that dealers show up, and you watch the absolute chaos of them unloading these metal glass showcases. Right, they're always using their kids for free labor, wheel them around, hoping their kids don't drop their cards, their showrooms. We want to give that experience without all of that hassle. We want people to be able to set up their showrooms, and everyone in the country can see that 24/7, 365, not, once every couple months, once every 6 months, once a year, when they can get to that local show, and not just reaching the audience or the collector base that can get to that show as well. We want to enable all the time national
evergreen, right? Evergreen. Right, like you have to set up and take down, but here it's evergreen. And Cage, I want to say something, because I did take offense with the post where it was like, do we need another grading company? Because something I learned is life is the quality of questions you ask yourself, right? And if you ask the wrong question, you're going to get the wrong answer. It's the same thing as like, did we need another fast food joint? Well, if the answer was no, your favorite company, this one that sponsors our show, Chick-fil-A, would have never been created, Cage. So the question isn't,
I thought you just got me Coke. I thought it was Coke. Now I got Chick-fil-A.
Do we need another X? It's what value does X provide to the consumer?
Well, let's peel back some of the layers, right? It's great to talk about a digital card show, and I love it. High level, it sounds great, right? Because I can't go to card shows. I mean, I've been to the last two nationals, right? And I don't like going to the West Coast.
You are not going.
The carpet is huge. Come on, I'm old. I'm fat. I got bad knees. I mean, carpet's not that much to ask for. But so just like East Coast, West Coast, like I haven't been to Burbank. I haven't been to shows in California. So I get that. And the world is getting smaller because everything is digital, because of the internet, because of this tech. And I think what you're trying to say is we could make one big card show. But let's peel it back a little bit, right? For the people who are listening who are perhaps interested in this and want to know what that actually means. Why you're not a grading company is because if I have a collection of raw cards and I send them to you, sure, you're going to put them in your grade, your slab. That way, when they're in my showroom, someone who comes in and wants to trade with me, someone who comes in and wants to buy that card has a third-party assessment of it and knows that card in those pictures what they're going to get, rather than a stock photo or a card that's creased and they're going to get one that's got 3 creases. So you have to do that with raw.
Or the old eBay switcheroo, right? That's beautiful photo, dinged corners arrives.
Well, we've all had that happen. I'm not going to call it an eBay switcheroo, but yes, I know what you mean. But more importantly, if I have graded cards that I want to put in my showroom, right? I can send you PSA cards. I can send you SGC cards. I can send you Beckett cards. You're not taking those out and putting them in your slab and grading them for me. This is not a crossover. So my showroom doesn't actually have to have one of your slabs, but you're going to do that if it's raw. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. And we happily accept PSA, Beckett, SGC, and other slabs into your showroom so you can show off and display your cards. But if you're sending us raw cards, we're going to put our stamp on it, tell you this is what we think your card is in terms of, an overall score of it, so that people who are visiting your showroom get a good understanding as to the quality of that card.
And I would say too, I have two things on that. The first one is, and this is like what I really want to get out there to collectors is, if we came out and we said you can only use our platform, our showroom platform, or marketplace if you put your cards in our slabs, that's so disconnected with how collectors collect, right? I know there's some collectors out there that do have only PSA slabs, but my collection, I have Beckett slabs, I have PSA slabs, I have SGC slabs, I have Arena Club slabs, and that's how I collect, because it's unless I'm really trying to do something very unique in a certain way, it's most important to me that I have an analysis of the card and I have a safe home for that card. And I think that brings me, yes, we're not a grading company, but if we were going to do grading, we needed to do it right and we needed to improve on what was out there. And I think that is something that I'm really proud of what we're doing is we have Gia Lee, who's a professor at Stanford in computer vision, tech background resume that would blow most people out of the water. And she helped us design this computer vision machine learning algorithm that really helps assist graders so that we can be consistent, we can be transparent. And I think that was the only thing in the grading thing that we really wanted to improve on. I shouldn't say only thing, there's a few things, but the main thing was being really transparent.
It's the transparency, to Warren's point. I'm not sure how many of you all listeners have sent cards in to get graded and you get back a slab card with no rhyme or reason as to why it scored a certain way. And I've done that a lot, and I thought, how can you make that experience better? Let's tell people why they scored a certain way, why a card scored a certain way. And that's our grading is it's mostly machine learning, computer vision, backed by, some great human graders that are helping the machine learning. But that's really what we're doing to the extent of the grading thing. But again, that's really a funnel, if you will, into the marketplace. Because once you send us raw cards, we're going to put them into the marketplace as a grade. But we highly encourage people to send us their slab cards already to add into their showroom.
So Andrew, you and I are going to role play for a second. You ready?
Okay, let's go.
You're going to be collector A. It's not just me and you, because if we want to trade, okay, I'll just text you and say, give me every one of your cards for my worst card.
Yeah, you'll slide me a note like you did with Sasha T.
Right, I'll be like, here you go.
If you don't give me this card for this price, my buddy Sal is waiting for you in the parking lot.
But let's just say you're Tony Harley, right? And I am, I don't know, who can I be? DPZ.
Patrick Zen.
Hey, we both are the same guy, the same listener.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
You love the true fans, right? So I'm DPZ. I loaded up some cards into my showcase from a box that I just did my showroom on Rigo. You also have your showroom up there too, and you're browsing, and you notice that I hit in a box recently, loaded it up, and it's in an Arena slab, a cool Chase Claypool card, and you're a Steelers fan, right? Yeah. So we can already have a way for you to buy that from me. That's okay. But what is it that you – because I want to understand this. Is there a way for Tony and DPZ to talk about what's in their showrooms and message and say, hey, I'm a Steeler fan. I see this Chase Claypool you got. I noticed you also are you're a fan of the Yankees. I have this Jeter. Maybe we can trade and move that in our showroom, not buy, sell, not take it out and ship it. Just we're going to move this and trade.
A profile and messaging attached is basically what you're asking.
I'm asking whether or not that's something that we
can do. Are you guys still role playing? Because this is a weird role play if you're still role playing.
Right. That's it. He broke the wall. He did Deadpool. He Deadpooled it.
Popcorn to Brian and Lauren to Anthony.
Yeah, no, Cage, it's a great question. And yes, We do allow trades to happen on our site, and the trades, card for card trades, are free. We do not charge for that because we want to encourage that behavior. We want people to come and have fun, right? But in terms of messaging, yes, you can message each other. We allow for that, of course. We are adding. I mean, we just launched 3 days ago, so there's a lot of functionality that we would like to add to the community. And one of those is following each other, liking each other's showrooms, putting wish lists together of here are some players or cards or teams that I love. Send me some trade offers on that include that. We're working on all that, Cage. We want this to be the most social platform in the market.
And there's 2 ways to do it right now. Well, 3 ways to do it right now too. So every showroom has a description, and you can describe your collection. Think of it like a Twitter bio, basically, right? So you can say, I collect Derek Jeter. I collect Shaquille O'Neal cards, whatever it is. Or, I absolutely hate, I'm not going to say anything here because I don't want to offend anyone, but I absolutely hate XYZ. And I don't want those cards. If they're in my showroom, I want to get rid of them. You can put that kind of information.
This is my sell my Alex Rodriguez collection showroom.
Totally.
Liquidation sale, Foreman Mills.
I'm not commenting. I can really be defensive here, but look, you can go offer. What's really cool is you can go make that offer, and then you can counter that trade offer, right? And that's what I love about the functionality. So, Kate, I can go say like, hey, I collect Mike Trout. I can see from your showroom that you have a Derek Jeter collection. So I have a Derek Jeter card. You have a Mike Trout card. I'm going to go offer you that. And you can look at that and say, hey, I think that my Mike Trout card is worth $10 more than your Derek Jeter card. So let me add a $10 there, or let me add a $10 card. And then that's just a very fluid back and forth. And then in addition to that, you can message each other. So for example, there was one today. Somebody caught me. I had a card up on my platform that I had priced completely wrong. And he offered me something. I countered him. I looked it up after I countered him, wrong order of operations. And he rejected my counter. And so I upped the price from $30 to $50. And he messaged me and he's like, hey, you just countered me for $28 because it was at $30. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Send me that offer for $28 again and I'll accept it. And like, as you're collecting, it's like the same thing, right? Like you walk into a booth at a show and someone, forgets that you walked by and they gave you a $50 offer before. And now you're like, why is it $70? You can say those kinds of things and to have that communication back and forth and really want to replicate that experience of, whatever is the negotiation, the back and forth, the collecting aspect of a show.
Complexity is the enemy of execution. At the end of the day, this just happened to me. I wanted to buy a Patrick Mahomes card. I went up to a dealer at a show here in Miami that Highline put on, I walked around. This guy had 20 Patrick Mahomes cards. So I was like, this guy's inventory. He probably has doubles. There's some trade here. We almost got a trade done, Cage, with that Wilt that we have for a Patrick Mahomes. It literally just happened. It's not rocket science. Mm-hmm. But I got to ask you this. So if you guys don't know, LegalZoom, huge, insane business. Brian, you could do whatever you want. You could do whatever you want, right? You had a successful exit. Why did you choose sports cards? Are you a collector?
Yeah, no, well, you're on mute.
I said, why wouldn't he choose sports cards? It's the best place to be. Forget about it. What do you mean, why?
Absolutely. Listen, I've been collecting cards really my entire life. My dad took me to my first Dodgers. I grew up in Southern California. My dad took me to my first Dodgers game when I was like 6, 7 years old. Steve Garvey was our first baseman, and we were sitting on that side. And so I was just watching him play the whole time, and I just fell in love with the game, fell in love with the Dodgers. And I remember I was that kid that rode my bike to the card shop, and I bought a Steve Garvey rookie card. I still have it. It's in my showroom, by the way, at Arena Club. It scored a 2.5, so I guess I didn't take great care of it, but it is in my showroom. And I was hooked ever since. I never stopped. I how some kids outgrow. I never outgrew anything. I just kept buying and going to card shops and card shows. And I remember my first real job. I was a lawyer at a New York law firm, and my very first paycheck I got there, I literally spent every dollar at the card shop, just buying more cards. And so that's just who I am. I love it. And Someone told me once that when you marry your passion with business, it doesn't feel like work. And this is definitely not feeling like work. I get to surround myself with cards every day, with great team members that love the hobby, that want to do nothing but improve the hobby, right? And it just feels right. It feels great, honestly. I'm loving this. I'm loving it.
You don't have the best team. Someone should have told you, go easy on yourself. 1971 tops, black border, Garvey, real hard to grade. 1.5 is actually not that bad. I mean, there are like no 10s in that set at all across all the platforms. That's a tough, that Garvey rookie, that's a tough one for a kid.
It's a tough card.
Fully black. It's like the Thurman Munson one that we talk about, Andrew. It's like chipping and the black border's tough. So I take a 1.5.
What Brian's going to collect when baseball's gone in 20 years. I guess he didn't listen to that episode where I gave a bold prediction. If baseball doesn't change what they're doing, they're in big trouble.
Baseball's fine, Andrew.
All right, fine. Let off the baseball.
What needs to change is the attention span.
Well, they make
the next generation.
Yeah, we got to fix kids, not baseball.
Exactly. Exactly. No.
By the way, I have an idea for that. I have a cool idea. I'll tell you guys later. It's like an after-school chess program that I want to call Simon. But I think chess is good. Warren, what's your origin story? How did you get into collecting cards?
Jeez. So as far as I can remember, my very first baseball card, and this is a good one actually. You guys familiar with what like a lot of people say is like the worst baseball card of all time?
Mickey Mantle 1951 Bowman is not his real rookie. That's what I keep hearing. I don't believe them.
Okay, but like a bad baseball card. Because I think the Mickey Mantle 51 is still a pretty card.
I mean, it depends what you mean by bad.
Okay,
I could tell you what a bad card is in my world.
So let me get to where I'm going. So when I was in preschool, my 5th birthday, my preschool teacher had her son come in. Her son, so he came in on my birthday, my 5th birthday, and he gave me a binder full of cards and he signed a baseball. I still have the baseball. I still have the cards. And he was Bobby Hamlin. He was the 1994 AL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Bob the Hammer Hamlin.
Yeah, and if you go look,
guy.
I think it's the 1996 Pinnacle. I think that's the card. There is this picture of Bob Hamlin, and he's holding up his nameplate that basically the photographer would have used when they're taking their pictures to know this is who this player is. And they literally put that on a baseball card. And that was one of my first like 5-10 baseball cards because he brought it in a binder on my 5th birthday. And I'm actually putting this out there to your listeners. I'm looking for a pristine version of that card because mine is very well loved. If you can find, that's the card. If anyone has a perfect foil of that card.
The funny thing is Cage went dressed as Bobby Hamlin for his Halloween party last year.
See? Yeah, I mean,
you gotta get those big bottle. But yeah, so that was my first card. That was my first autograph. And I started collecting. And when I was, 10, 12 years old, you could go to Target and you could buy a $20 blaster box. And I would save up my allowance. I would buy it. And I would rummage through that. I was an Angels fan. I was saying right before we jumped on, I'm pretty sure that's the Garrett Anderson in the bottom row of the background card that I had. But that's how I got into collecting. I loved organizing them. I loved, playing with them. Then when I got to high school and all my friends started getting real jobs, I didn't want to do that. I really can't tell you how much I didn't want to go be a barista at Starbucks. And so I got into getting autographs, going to spring training with my dad, going to Angels games, collecting cards, and selling them on eBay. And at the time, it was really, the card world was rather quiet. This is 2009, 2010. So a lot of that was around the autograph world. But I just never grew out of it. Like Brian said, it was just so much fun. And I think what I love and I also hate is everyone in this is an entrepreneur. Everyone, this is their little business, whether it's a huge business or it's a tiny business. It's how people learn about business. It's how I learned math, buying and selling and things like that. So,
yeah, absolutely.
And I never saw cards as a job. I always saw it as something fun that I was doing on the side. And yeah, I made maybe some money that I could go buy something else that I loved with. But
buy more cards.
Yeah, more cards, more autographs, and more tickets to go watch my favorite players. But it was always that ecosystem.
Yeah.
But I went to business school in 2019, and I went with the sole intention of I wanted to go work at a team or a league. I wanted to go run a team or a league strategy, that kind of job. And I was getting ready to interview for a bunch of these jobs in March of 2020. And as you may know, the sports world shut down at that time. And all of those jobs stopped hiring. So I dove right back into what I had been doing for 10, 15 years.
What teams did you have interviews with that they canceled because of COVID?
So I had already interviewed with the Indians, but it was mostly the league offices. So the NBA, I had interviewed at MLB and NFL, and the NHL wasn't doing an internship program that year, so I can't put them on blast. But those were the ones that all canceled their internship programs before the interview process even really happened. And next thing I knew, I was doing this card thing. And as you guys know, I came out of that, started a fund called Mint 10 with DJ Ski and Carter and Courtney Ream, where we invest in companies in this space. And I have to disagree with Brian. When you marry your passion and your work, I feel like I work really hard. I think anyone in the office would say I'm our biggest critic because I know how much people love this, and we really want to build something that moves us forward as collectors and moves the hobby forward.
We can pivot it. I think Walt Disney said, if you find the job you love, you never work a day in your life. But it doesn't mean you're not working hard, right? It doesn't mean you're not doing your thing.
Absolutely.
Here's where I'm going, guys, with both of you. What I'm hearing, and I'll let you go, is the difference is, I think, from success and not success is you kind of participate long enough to realize what needs to change. So you don't start a LegalZoom without spending some time at Skadden.
That's right.
And figuring out what the industry needs, right?
That's right.
You don't come up with what's going to happen here in the hobby until you're actually a hobby participant, until you go to shows with your son. Yeah. Or you spend time buying cards, you spend time investing in the companies that are out there, and then you wind up, all right, well, what is needed is not out there, right? And these are two guys, at least from what I'm hearing for the first half hour, are hobby participants first.
100%. I mean, this is exactly what we want as collectors and part of this hobby, right? We wanted to build something that spoke to us, and Arena Club speaks to us.
One thing I want to touch on that you said, Warren, that I think is really cool, it's just like a little perspective shift. I think it's exciting that the youth of today wants to be entrepreneurs or self-employed, and cards are the training wheels for that. I think that makes our hobby awesome. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, I think ambition and trying to create a path for yourself is the American dream. I don't know where we got lost in that was turned into like a negative thing or being an Instagram influencer. But that is why people come here, because if they work hard and they find their passion, they can turn it into something real. Totally. I urge people out there listening who have never traveled to go travel a little bit, because you'll come back here and you'll realize how beautiful that is. So I think it's awesome that the hobby is full of entrepreneurial.
And I said I love it, and I also hate it, because that's the part I love, right? Like, I love that a kid, like, look, I was 14 when I started selling my stuff on eBay. I hope eBay's like policy team that only lets people above 18 sell doesn't come back and
statute of limitations.
20 years later,
I'm a lawyer in training. So.
They're raking back all of your Beanie Baby money.
Yeah, exactly. But like, that's the thing I love, is like, anyone can do it, right? Like, what's super cool about this is if you do your research and you do, you want to spend time doing it, you go figure out, like, I love walking around the National, and there's 12-year-old kids walking around with a briefcase of $500,000 in cards, not necessarily because, and there's some of it where, their parents bought them $500,000 of cards, and that's part of it. But a lot of those kids, they bought $20 cards, or they bought a pack of cards and got it graded. And then they figured out how to buy, sell, and trade that on to the next bigger thing. And that's what business is about. That's the part I absolutely love about it. The part and hate's a strong word, but the part that bothers me about it is when people are taking advantage of those kids that are trying to learn the things, and they're trying to, have their experiences and missteps and learn from those missteps. And I think there's a very small number of people in the hobby that are trying to take advantage of that. And that's the part that bothers me. I want this to be a learning place, because I went to business school. I learned way more about business buying and selling sports memorabilia and cards than I ever did in business school.
And who's taking advantage? Is it the grading companies, or is it the manufacturers, or is it the hobby participants? And you
put me
can
on the spot. I think that there it's. I don't want to say it's a grading company. I don't want to say it's a manufacturing company. But there's individuals out there where even if it's something as simple as maybe they don't invest in their customer service, or maybe they don't invest in their quality control because they know that someone's out there and they're going to spend their money because they're trying to learn this. Like we should be building. We have so many resources, right? Those of us that like are privileged enough to be building parts of this hobby, that like when we make missteps, we should be held accountable for them. We should fix them. And we should be reaching out to these hobby participants, these young adults that are doing this and learning from this, to learn from them, because they're the ones that are in the trenches, and they're the ones that are really like our core users that are going to find our mistakes before we do. And I want to partner with them, and I want to learn from them, rather than just saying, well, we know they're going to use our platform, or they're going to buy from us one way or the other because they're trying to make their own way in this.
Absolutely. And look, as a new company and new entrant into this industry, we will make mistakes. We will. And we want to be held accountable for them, but we want to have an open conversation and dialogue with the community, because we want to get better. We want to be better. We always strive to be better. And so, look, we're in beta launch right now. There's a lot of things that we're fixing. It's kind of like, fixing the plane as you're flying it. But that's where we are right now. And hopefully, someday we will wake up and say, we built something beautiful, right? But we're not quite yet.
And they ask, guys, it's really simple. It's not to get your cards graded by Arena Club or anything like that. It's, if you go to arenaclub.com, there's a sign up button. You could just go play around with the site. Like it's not that big of an ask. And Cage and I, we don't really have proprietary tech. I think we'll get into it. But we're like chop wood, take out water. We're just doing an episode every day. And we just think of ourselves as a service business. So like, we don't let DMs go unanswered. All our best content is like, hey, the community says, this is what I want to hear more about, or, hey, what do you think about XYZ topic? And we talk about it. So if there's one thing I want to change, and Rob Burbank, I want to ask you guys if you guys went to the Burbank show, Rob Veras, I talked to him at National. He's huge on hospitality. Like, this industry was never customer service or hospitality driven. Mm-hmm. And that's something I know he wants to change. That's something that's our core value. So new companies getting into it. I mean, PWCC is one. I would put their customer service on par with anybody. They're doing an amazing job. And I think that touch has been missing from the hobby for a long time. And I love to see that companies coming in have the customer in mind.
100%. And Rob doesn't even know this, but basically when my son turned 7 or 8 years old, I think it was, I went to Burbank Cards, and this is before they got their big location. This is when they were still small. And I remember Rob was there, and I bought my son a Clayton Kershaw rookie card for his birthday. And I remember Rob threw in a Hideo Nomo card, just for a raw card, but just for free, because it's my son's birthday, and I'll never forget it. And my son especially will never forget it. And to this day, he looks at Burbank sports cards as like, they're the best, right? They took care of it. So it's the same thing. It's like, we want to take care of people too. Nothing makes me happier than kids in the hobby, by the way. When I went to the Burbank card show, there were so many kids waiting in line. I knew this hobby is strong. It's here to stay. The future is bright, because these kids are loving it, just like my kid.
Can't say that about baseball.
Well, the bases are bigger now, so just
I love baseball.
Someone could really put their whole foot on the base.
Yeah,
that was baseball's a company that really listens to their customers.
The Dodgers clinched yesterday, which was fun.
Oh, the Dodgers are a juggernaut. Cage, you're out there smiling. You want to say anything about the Yankees who started hot and that fell off? No. I mean, Cage, honestly, you do this. You do the customer service thing, and I think the digital showroom would allow for this. Like, we walk around the show, you see, oh, he's wearing a Dodgers jersey. I have some Mookie Betts draft picks cards. If you guys out there know what I'm talking about, you're really OGs. But like, you could do that in the real world. Now you have this digital showcase to do that with. Jeter, how did he come into the picture?
Yeah, so Derek's a friend of mine. We've been friends for quite a few years. And I remember sitting next to him at an event, and we're just talking about just a bunch of different things. And I kind of told him what I did. I start companies and I grow them. And so he actually told me, hey, listen, if you ever come up with an idea that you want to do with me, let me know. I want to be part of it. And so about a year and a half ago, I kind of shared this story with him, the vision for Arena Club, and he loved it. He's a collector himself. He collects a lot of his own cards as well as early Yankee cards. But he's also a big collector of just memorabilia. And so really instantly understood what we were trying to build and wanted to be part of it. And so that's how it started. So Derek Jeter's our founding partner, and he's a wonderful partner. Honestly, I always say if you don't love Derek Jeter, there's something wrong with you, right? Because he's a great guy, does a lot for the community, does a lot for kids, and just, what's not to love? He's a 5-time world champion and a 14-time All-Star. I mean, you can't go wrong with a great partner like Derek Jeter.
Can I pick your brain? So you love growing businesses, right?
Yes.
And there's not so many. There's a lot of young entrepreneurs that not just collect cards, but they want to start a business. Take off your Arena Club hat for just a second, and you're a consultant of the hobby. You're a consultant. What would you recommend? What advice would you have? I know it's so general, and you have to meet the entrepreneur.
Can I answer?
Yeah, 100%, bro.
So like you guys, I've said I've invested in, I don't know, 10 to 12 companies in this hobby in the last couple of years. And part of that job, right, in investing in these companies is to be a consultant, is to be an advisor on a lot of this stuff, on, how they're going to grow and things like that. But my core is an entrepreneur, and that's, like so many other kids, I got started selling these cards. And I can tell you, it's find a leader that you can like trust and get behind. Working for Brian is
working with Brian.
Working for Brian and with Brian has been such a life-changing experience. And I mean that very honestly. Like, you get the experience of somebody like him. And by the way, it's not just LegalZoom. You can go look at his resume. There's a lot of other successes he's had there too. And you get a chance to learn from the mistakes. Or when I'm panicked and I think the world is collapsing around me, you get, well, it was worse in this situation, or it was worse in this situation, and this is how we recovered from it. I think part of being an entrepreneur isn't just the good times, it's understanding how to bounce back and be resilient and work through the problems. And I think that's something that when you're just an entrepreneur on your own without the guidance and some of the experience that Brian brings, you don't know how to do that. So you get stuck. I get stuck when I reach a point of panic and I don't know what to do. And he can put it in perspective. He can, show
He's
you
seen that pitch before. He's seen that pitch before. He's like, turn your bat a little bit flatter and you'll make contact.
Exactly. And I think that's what I told, I'm good friends with a lot of these guys that are maybe a few years younger than me that I've known for a long time at these shows. And that's what I told him was like, hey, like, if you want to take that next step, go find someone that you can learn from. And I mean, I can say that about DJ Ski at Mint 10 too. Like, I learned so much from him about the way he approaches people and just being kind to people in business and how important that is. Anyone that's met him knows how nice he is. That learning from people is the fastest and easiest way to learn, because the only other way to learn that I've had is to make disastrous mistakes and try to like bounce back from them. And it's so much more fun to have somebody point out your mistakes or help you guide through them before you make them than to like fall off a cliff and have to climb back yourself.
Can I ask you as a favor?
Ooh, right? Already, we just met him, Cage.
Well, I mean, the conversation always kind of, drives here, right? Entrepreneurs in the hobby. Every kid's an entrepreneur. Everybody's making money. Everybody's an entrepreneur. And it goes hand in hand with the hobby now.
I admit it. I'm self-employed. I'm not at the entrepreneur state. I'm still just paying my bills.
Andrew has asked a lot of guests about, hey, advice for an entrepreneur and, what to do with the business and the whole deal. I'll tell you what I do, and then the favor will come from that. Because I'm sure there are a lot of people listening now saying, it's another company, it's another investment, it's another lot of money, it's another billionaire talking to millionaires, and what the hell, they need me, they need my cards, but they're all, they know Derek Jeter and blah blah blah. So I'm an idiot. I have no money. I'm still paying off my student loans. I don't own the house that I'm recording this episode from. The Citibank does. Eventually one day maybe I'll own it. That would be nice.
All right, stop showing off.
That's showing off. Okay. But the point is, I'm not rich. I'm not an entrepreneur, but I show up every day with one principle in mind. It's if one of our thousands of people were here, what question would they ask? What would they ask these guys? Because they don't have the opportunity to ask them. I get to ask on their behalf. I provide that value to those guys. I never lose sight of why we're doing this, why we're putting this out there. It's that end user. It's the real customer, which is the person listening to this, that we brought you on to kind of explain why you're here in the hobby. And I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not rich. I will not die rich. It's just one of those things. Andrew says I will, but you get where I'm going.
On limiting.
So the favor. You guys can be entrepreneurs and you can start companies and end companies and invest in companies and the whole deal. But remember one little thing from this old poor guy, and that's who your customer is. And more importantly, remember the 8-year-old, 12-year-old version of you. Remember the kid that you're taking to the card show with you, and realize I'm starting this because I'm doing this because I want to change something. I want to make it better for that 8-year-old kid, for the version of me that didn't have this. I want to make it better for that end user. And if you do that, I think everything else will kind of fall in line.
I completely agree with you, Cage. 1,000%. Right? We are truly doing this to improve upon what's out there and available. I also want to throw in this part too. Because people ask me all the time, like, how did you grow LegalZoom? Or how did you grow Shootouts or The Honest Company or any of the other companies that I've started? It's nothing. Well, number one, nothing's easy, right? No one's ever going to show up on your doorstep and say, here's a bucket of success. You're going to have to work for it, right? You are. You're just going to have to work for it, outwork whoever you can outwork. That's number one. But number two, it's really about building brand. Right? And how do you build brand? It takes time. It takes some money. But most importantly, it takes extreme consistency in what you promise and delivering what you promise. Right? So I always say this. It's like if there's a pizza shop, okay, let's take it down to the pizza shop level. But they have great freaking pizza. And it's consistent. And every time I go into that pizza shop, it's great. Right? Eventually, over time, there will be a line of people waiting for that pizza, right? It's the same thing with just business at the simplest level. Deliver what you promise. If you could do that consistently, just like your podcast here, okay, Cage and Andrew, it's if you're consistently delivering great content the way you have been for 800 episodes, it will grow. Yep. It will grow because your users are going to say, you know what? This is a great podcast. This is the only podcast I ever want to listen to. I'm waiting for. Eventually, it will grow. And I disagree with you, Cage. You will make money from it, even though that might not even be the goal, because that's never really my goal. My goal is never, you know what? I'm going to go out there and try to make a buck. That's not what it is. If you build something that's beautiful, that will last for decades, for generations, nothing makes me happier than knowing my grandkids someday will say, my granddad started that company, right? That makes me, that's what keeps me driven, right? It's like building a great, beautiful business with a strong foundation over time. Nothing is built overnight. It's like things that are built overnight, you either get super, super, super lucky. Maybe it was just like some fluke, or it's a flash in the pan, right? It's like, that's not what I'm looking for, right? We're looking to build Arena Club, especially, into something that will be around for generations, not to build and sell in 2 or 3. That's never the goal. The goal is you want to build something beautiful.
And Cage, if I can just add, I also am not rich. I hope I will die rich, but we got a couple of steps onto that. Also, the bank does also own a majority of my house, so I got with you on that one. But
Andrew says if I give up my Coke and Chick-fil-A, I might live long enough to eventually make enough money. But I don't
enjoy life. But no, here's what I would say, and I really want. I know because I'm critical of us. I'm critical of other companies in the hobby, and I know people will be and should be critical of us and hold us to a really high standard. If you or Andrew or your listeners at some point feel like we're not looking out for that 8-year-old kid, if we're doing something malicious, if we're doing something that's not at that standard, please tell us. my email, I won't give out Brian's. My email is really simple. It's warren@arenaclub.com. And if you see us doing something that we shouldn't be doing, whether that's me, whether that's Brian, whether that's somebody at the company, tell us. Because we'll fix it.
It's brian@arenaclub.com as well.
Now everyone's going to know everyone's email is the company.
Why not? Because I want to know. I want to hear.
Let's give a few flowers. Who is doing things well? What company? What business? It could be it was just a dealer that you ran into at a show that you're like, I kind of like what they're doing. It could be you could take this anywhere you want, but we love
Derek Jeter, who else?
Kelly.
DJ Ski. No.
Yeah, right? Look, I'll start with one that I'll try to avoid companies I've invested in because that's a little bit of a biased standpoint. But I think the PWCC team is doing a really good job. I really do. I have to be honest. The complexity of a vault, and I know vaulting is a very hot topic and a lot of people want to criticize. If you guys have used PWCC's vault and their experience, and Jesse has been so good to me, both as a collector and through business, like they've done a really good job. They've made a really, what I think is simplifying a very complex process. And I don't think they get enough credit for what they do, to be honest. I think they're a really good company. And I've invested in a lot of other companies in the space. I'm going to stay away from those, but I think that's a company that I think is just really continued through a lot of ups and downs to build for the best and to build for the collectors. And I know they've made mistakes. I know they know they've made mistakes. But I think that their kind of direction that they've gone in has been really good. And I've been really happy to watch some of the stuff that they've rolled out.
Yeah, I completely agree with Warren in regards to PWCC. I think there's a lot of companies doing great things. Everyone's trying. That's for sure. I really love the guys over at the Dallas Card Show. I think they have a great show. It's once every 2 months. It's just a fantastic atmosphere. The action that happens in the lobby after hours is unlike anything I've ever seen. Right. I mean, everyone's got their case. Everyone's doing deals. Everyone. And it's like, I'm part of it. Right. It's like, I go right into the mix and no one knows who I am. And I like it that way. Right. Because I score some great deals there, but it's just a fun show. I think they do it right. I think, if more shows could be like that, I think we're all, better for it. And we're trying to emulate as much of that as we can, truthfully.
One more I'll just add on. I've never met this team. I have no relationship with them. And I'm watching from afar. But talk about entrepreneurship in the hobby. Zion cases, seeing that like opportunity and building something that was, that was needed and that people wanted. Yeah.
There you go, Andrew.
I like I said, no relationship with them, never met them, just been and not a customer. I don't have my own Zion case. All my cards are vaulted at Arena Club, but watching that. Finding, simply, how do we improve the hobby? How do we give people what they need in the hobby to help do what they want to do?
Metal foam in a backpack. Metal foam in a backpack. Who knew it could be that? And good customer service.
Good customer. Yeah, it starts with good customer service, I think.
How was so last weekend? Everybody saw photos. Jaimo, Mojo, Jeter, Zablo, Breaks with Jess. You had the whole squad out there. What was it like in person?
For the event?
Yep.
The launch event? Mm-hmm. It was super exciting. It was really exciting to see so many people who are so passionate about the hobby attend our event, talk about us, report about us. Look, I think it was one of the most successful launches I've ever had after launching a few companies. But it's been a fantastic reception. A lot of action happening on Arena Club in terms of the buy, sell, trade. I've gotten hundreds of trade offers, and sometimes I'm up late at night going through all these trade offers, and it's been great fun. Derek has loved it. He's so excited. He's on the site every day looking at his trade offers, and he's asking me sometimes like, hey, what do you think? And Warren will say like yes or no or this or that, but it's been fun. It's been fun.
I did make the mistake at the event of letting Derek take my phone and look at a trade offer. And Derek's rule of thumb is never take the first offer. He's very adamant about that. And so I got an offer, which I thought was pretty good. It was like a Ryan Mountcastle rookie card, right? Modern baseball card, not anything super flashy. And I think I got an offer for $25. I was like, hey, you know what? I think I pulled that out of a $10 pack, get my money back, reinvest that somewhere else. And Derek countered for, I think it was $27 just because he doesn't take the first offer. And I would say that is the last time I'm going to let Derek Jeter hold my phone.
Smart. What is he? Cage, I'll popcorn you. I only have one more question. Anything from you, my friend, before we wrap?
No, go for it, man.
If there's misconceptions about the Arena Club, the week after launch, it's tough. There's so much going on. You know, there's this report, this. Any misconceptions about you guys in the first week that you guys want to clear up?
You go first, and then I got one.
No, I think the misconceptions were some of the headlines that I read, like another grading company. You know, I think that's really what we're trying to avoid, is that what we're trying to do is really move this hobby forward online with an exciting social platform that emulates a digital card show. Imagine going to a card show and having kind of like the grading aspect in the corner. That's kind of how I feel ourselves. The grading component really is to show you what the raw cards are like, as opposed to, you know, being at the card show and actually holding a raw card. So that's actually what I really would like to share with your community is we're a digital card show first. And it's a lot of fun. You know, come check it out. I think you're going to really enjoy it.
The one I'd add is, you know, we're, you know, and it stems from just another grading company, but, you know, here's Derek Jeter, here's like this group of millionaires, billionaires that are trying to take advantage of us, trying to skim off the top of the hobby. You know, what I would encourage people to please go look at my background. Please go look at Brian's background. Come look at like our showrooms. Like I can tell you a story about every collection I have in my showroom and why it's important to me and what the moment was. We're building this because we love it and we want to improve it. And I know that that's going to be a really hard thing to get across to people. I know that there's going to be a lot of people doubting that. But come, you know, we'll be at card shows, we'll be at card shops. Come email us, come message us, come have a conversation with us, come give us feedback, because we're not here trying to squeeze out that last penny from you and take advantage of that for, you know, this elite class. We're here because we love this thing and we want to make it better. And all of the feedback of this community is going to be instrumental in doing that. And just hopefully people will give us a chance. I think that's the other one, is like, please just, you know, if you tried and you hate it, sorry, you know, it's not going to be for everyone. And I totally get that. But I really do think if people give us a chance and are willing to be active participants and give us active feedback, we as a community, we as a collector community have a chance to really move the hobby forward and do something really cool. We can't do that by ourselves. We don't have enough good ideas. We're kind of tapped out of good ideas, to be honest. But like the community has so many good ideas and so many, the ability to have more eyeballs on everything that we do and give us the feedback. Like, just give us a chance. And if you're not happy, tell us why you're not happy. Tell us what we could do better. Because that's what we want to do. We hope that we can just get people to start the conversation, because we really want to help the hobby. And that really is where we're coming from.
So the summary, go check out arenaclub.com. Everybody email Warren at arenaclub.com. Just write Luka Nation and annoy him. Just send him as many of those as you can, because he gave his email out. Don't bother Brian.
Just CC Cage on that.
Yeah, CC me. cagelawyer@gmail.com. You can see, send me whatever you like. But most importantly, if you're on the platform, you can send Derek Jeter a trade offer. Yeah. But you better come correct on the first one. It doesn't matter what you offer; he's going to reject.
No, lowball him. Lowball.
Yeah, so you better save.
He doesn't know comps. Lowball, he's going to counter above it.
No, Jeter, it works for him.
I know what Derek he told us to be quiet about this, but what Derek doesn't have in his showroom right now, and I
tell thousands of listeners.
Core 4, his Core 4 teammates, he doesn't have a single card of those guys. He has some of his. He's got some of his favorite players from when he was a child. So Reggie Jackson, Dave Winfield, and he's got some. He's got.
I know the biggest Mariano Rivera collector this side of the East Coast.
I actually sat with Dave Winfield, was at my table at a Turn 2 event.
Nice.
That was the Yankee who I said I love Dave Winfield.
So Derek, is definitely Mariano, Posada, and Pettit. If you guys have those cards, that's a great starting point with Derek. He's trying to build
guys,
that war collection.
do not try to negotiate against Derek Jeter. When they say he doesn't accept his first offer, it's very true. After his 96 rookie season where he won the Rookie of the Year, won a championship, he was seeking, the numbers are going to sound so ridiculous, guys, but that's how old I am, and this is what happens. He was seeking a $550,000 contract from the Yankees. The Yankees offered him $450,000. Yes, they lowballed Derek Jeter after winning the Rookie of the Year and a championship. He declined it because he never accepted the first offer. Ultimately, he didn't get his $550,000, but he got $540,000. So don't mess with Derek. He knows what he's doing. He's going to negotiate. He's going to get the best
Don't
deal.
remind him about that either, because there's one thing we know about Derek. It's he doesn't forget about those things.
It's true. It's definitely true. That happened. I remember it. I was coherent enough and a Yankee fan enough to remember when that was going on. I was like, just pay him. Look what he did. What's going on here? They saved $10,000, and I'm sure he remembers that. For $10,000, you could have made him happy. Well, whatever. It is what it is. He made enough.
I'll ask you as one last question. What's your grail card? What's the card you're chasing? Independent of value and all that stuff, what's the card you're chasing?
This is going to sound really, really weird, but I'm still looking for a rookie Yuna Kim card. And for those of you who don't know Yuna, she's basically the greatest South Korean ice skater who has ever lived, right? And I've got a collection that I'm building right now in my online showroom at Arena Club called Asian Icons. And I've got, everyone from the first baseball player to Normie Wong, who was the first professional football player. Like I've got, Asian Chloe Kim, one of my favorite snowboarders of all time. I mean, I got a pretty good collection going of Asian icons, but I don't have Yuna. So if you could offer me a Yuna Kim card, I know it's pretty out there, but hopefully I could get one.
Eric Myers, if you're listening, by the way. So PWCC, a good friend of ours, Eric Myers, he joined PWCC a few months ago, but he also, probably a year ago, he now lives in South Korea, and he manages the Asian market. So Eric, if you're listening, that's for you. Warren, what are you chasing?
Yeah, Eric, if it's deep in that backpack of yours, the Power Rangers backpack, pull it out and run.
What are you chasing, brother?
That's a good question. So I've been fortunate with Mint 10 to be able to go chase some cards that were out of my budget. So the one that we have at Mint 10 that I got a hold at the National last year, it's actually at the PWCC vault right now, is the Mike Trout Platinum 1/1 card from Topps Update 2011. So
7 home runs in 7 days. Only Ken Griffey Jr.
I know.
So it's and Mike Trout. I grew up a huge Angels fan. I think Mike Trout is 2 years old, not quite. But as Brian told Derek once, he's my childhood hero. And Mike Trout's my childhood hero, even though he's a year older than me. It's just so fun to watch him, and it's so great for a historically mediocre franchise to have somebody like him. So I'd say that one.
He's a huge collector too. Walks in the PSA to get cards graded and stuff. The athletes love this stuff as much, if not more, than we do.
Yeah, but I think my what I'm probably looking for right now is going to be any 1/1 RPA of Jared Goff that I can afford, because I went to Berkeley undergrad and I overlapped with him, and my fantasy team makes fun of me, but every year my last pick of the draft, I always draft Jared, and I commit to my team that I'm going to start him 1 week of the year. Started him Thanksgiving week last year. He did great. I think he threw 3 touchdowns. It was fantastic. But yeah, 1/1 Jared Goffs, especially that anyone wants to give me for an affordable price.
Aaron Rodgers went to Berkeley.
Brian actually bought me an Aaron Rodgers card at the Dallas Card Show last time we were down there, which was awesome. But I know that I cannot afford an Aaron Rodgers 1/1 in any year, let alone a rookie year. So I'm going to stick with Jared. Also, I was at Cal at the same time as Jared, so that was a little bit closer for me. And I'm also a Rams fan, so watching him go to the Rams and then leave the Rams was both a high point and a low point of my.
Think about those answers. Think about those answers for a second, though. It wasn't, I want a Mickey Mantle, or I want to. These are they're collectors' answers. I mean, I want cards. If anybody has South Korean cards, I'm surprised no Jin Kook with Gino or Jungkook, no BTS cards. If they don't make them, we got to make them. Or look at you, Jared Goff. People are gonna
He
send
kind
it
of
to you
looks
for
like
free.
Jared Goff. You kind of look like Jared Goff now that I think about it. Guys,
Wow.
a bucket list item. A bucket list item is go to the Greek. You got to go to the Greek Theater at Berkeley, by the way, for a concert. It's one of the best venues to go to. I think I watched Postal Service there like 8 years ago or something.
Yeah, it's great.
And shout out to Shia.
My
Shout
college
out to
graduation was at the Greek Theater. So.
Is that right? It's
Yeah.
sick. Underrated movie, Jonah Hill and Russell Brand. Anyway, we're gonna have you guys on for round 2. Good. We wish you all the best with Arena Club. I know Luka Nation does as well. We're not like we're a community that we love to see other people succeed, and that's what we're building. That's our number one value. Like other people winning doesn't mean that you can't win. So we wish you guys all the success. Brian, Warren, appreciate you guys taking the time. Zablo, thank you for putting this together for us as well. Cage, any final words before we wrap?
No, we're at an hour, 800 episodes. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
So thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo Mai. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luka Nation.